It began with a sound, a frantic, distorted whisper buried in static, a final, desperate transmission. It's not Gabriel. It's not an angel. It's wearing him. Oh God, it's making something out of his skin. The whisper was silenced by a sickeningly wet, tearing noise. The sound of a canvas being ripped from its frame, but the canvas was flesh. A piercing scream was cut brutally short, leaving only a dead, humming silence. The Ascent. In the autumn of 2024, a series of violent, unnatural storms ripped through the Himalayas. Pilots and weather stations reported impossible radar signals, flashes of light that burned their eyes through closed lids. One Nepalese pilot, broadcasting on an emergency channel, swore that the storm cracked the very sky open, and for a fleeting, sanity-shattering moment, he saw an entire city falling from the clouds. His report was officially dismissed as hypoxia-induced hallucination, but the story didn't die. For centuries, the region was haunted by legends of a celestial city, a place known in forbidden texts as the Aerie. Most scholars called it a myth. For Dr. Aris Thorne, a disgraced historical linguist, it was an obsession. He poured what was left of his reputation and funds into one last expedition. They were the Helios team. Thorne, the desperate man of faith. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a brilliant but skeptical geologist. Marcus Vance, their stoic medic, a former Special Forces operator whose hands knew only how to fix, not what they were about to face. Lena Petrova, a communications tech who could pull a signal from a dead rock. And Ben Carter, a young documentarian whose cameras were meant to capture a god on film, but would instead become the only testament to their damnation. They aimed to climb into the heart of the atmospheric chaos. In early October, they started their ascent. 3 weeks later, a final, garbled data burst shot from the Helios team's emergency beacon. It held just one impossible image: a city of bone-white spires, hanging in a sky the color of a bruise. It was their last transmission. Everything that follows has been pieced together from the corrupted data and fragmented audio recovered from that final, desperate signal. The team's logs show they broke through the cloud layer on day 22. The storm that had hunted them for weeks just stopped. The air turned still and unnaturally warm. And there it was, suspended over a chasm with no bottom. The city. Lena Petrova's first audio log captured the moment, her voice a tremor of awe and raw terror. It's here. Aris was right. It's all white, like polished bone. The architecture, it defies physics. It's like a Gothic cathedral designed by something that didn't understand straight lines. The towers, they curve and twist like talons reaching for a sky that isn't there. The city was utterly, profoundly silent. The air, as Marcus noted in a medical log, was thick with a strange, sweet smell he described as burnt honey and rotting roses. They found a way in, stepping onto a bridge that seemed to crystallize out of the mist itself. Once inside, their footsteps made no sound, simply swallowed by the bone-white stone. Dr. Vasquez's geological sensors went haywire. The city wasn't made of any known element. Her log states, the atomic structure is a paradox. It's ancient, yet it shows quantum signatures that suggest it's in a constant state of flux. It's matter that shouldn't exist. The walls of the building seemed to pulse with a faint, nauseating light, like the bioluminescence of some deep-sea predator. They weren't walking through something that was built. They were walking through something that had grown, something that was alive. The Gallery of Pain. 3 hours after they arrived, they learned the city was more than just a place. In the twisting streets, they found a huge circular chamber lined with hundreds of seamless, obsidian mirrors that drank the light from their headlamps. And they didn't show their reflections. Not as they were. Dr. Thorne stared into one and saw himself as a shriveled corpse, his mouth grotesquely stretched open as a torrent of writhing gold thread poured out. Marcus Vance, the hardened soldier, recoiled as his reflection showed thick, black feathers sprouting from his eye sockets, his skin peeling away to reveal not muscle, but a squirming mass of insects. The worst was what Elena Vasquez saw. Her reflection was that of a little girl, screaming without a sound as her jaw unhinged and split open, revealing rows upon rows of needle-sharp teeth. As they stood paralyzed in horror, the mirrors began to bleed. A thick, warm, black fluid that smelled of iron and decay oozed from their surfaces, crawling across the floor in defiance of gravity. The fluid pooled, forming letters from a language Thorne had only seen in ancient, forbidden texts. As he translated, his voice, caught on Ben's camera, cracked into a horrified whisper. "It is a warning," he stammered. His academic cool shattered. "It says, he is watching, he is hungry, he remakes all who enter his gallery." The moment he spoke the last word, a low hum filled the room. A slow, rhythmic pulse they felt through the soles of their boots. The city had a heartbeat. It wasn't just alive, it was aware, and it was hungry. The Living Labyrinth. Panic erupted. Their only thought was to get out, but the city wouldn't let them go. The bone-white streets began to shift and writhe. Hallways that were straight now twisted into impossible, breathing loops. Doors that led outside now opened into the same sealed room, over and over. Whispers slithered through the dead air, calling each of them by name. It was then they lost the first member of the team. Lena Petrova, the comms tech, became convinced she was getting a signal from base camp. Ignoring her teammates' desperate pleas, she followed the phantom signal into a dark spire and was swallowed by the shadows. They found her 6 hours later. She was standing perfectly still in a vast, empty plaza. Her skin was stretched tight and polished like old ivory. Her once bright blue eyes were now solid, bottomless pits of black. When she finally spoke, it wasn't her voice. It was a chorus of dozens of voices, a harmony of pain, glee, and madness, singing a twisted hymn in a dead language from her single throat. She didn't see them. She just stared at the sky, humming that discordant tune. The Skin Library. Fleeing from the thing that was once Lena, the remaining 4 stumbled into what looked like a library. But the books were not bound in leather. They were bound in screaming faces, the skin stretched so tight you could still see the silent agony in their features. And the pages were vellum, with text written in blood that was still wet, crawling across the page to form words as if written by an invisible, bleeding hand. It was there that the Thorne found the terrible truth. This wasn't the Aerie, this was a prison, a workshop, and its artist-in-residence was a being the texts called Gabriel. But this wasn't the messenger angel of lore. This was a cosmic devourer, a being of terrible beauty and infinite hunger, cast out of heaven for its art form, the blasphemous reshaping of flesh. The city was its canvas, and its inhabitants, past, present, and future, were the paint. The Unmaking. The change that took Lena began to infect the others. It started small. Marcus complained his hands felt stiff, only to look down and watch in mute horror as the skin between his fingers grew webbing, the flesh melting and fusing together while his fingernails cracked, yellowed, and elongated into crude, bird-like talons. Ben Carter, the documentarian, started coughing. First a dry hack, then a wet retch that brought up not blood, but thick, oily black feathers. He clawed at his throat, feeling his own bones dissolving and reforming within him, becoming hollow, brittle, and terrifyingly light. His piercing scream is believed to be the one from the very beginning of this account, as he became the entity's next masterpiece. Elena's transformation was perhaps the most awful. Her dark hair fell out in weeping clumps, and from her raw scalp, pristine white quills pushed their way out, glistening with blood. Fine cracks spiderwebbed across her face as if she were a porcelain doll being shattered from the inside. The city wasn't just killing them. It was claiming them, making them part of its own grotesque ecosystem. An audience with the artist. In the central spire, in a chamber that looked like the inside of a colossal ribcage, they finally saw it. A figure stepped from the shadows, radiating a soft golden light. It was beautiful, and it was hideously wrong. Its form kept shifting, revealing wings made not of feathers, but of screaming faces trapped in amber and shards of obsidian that bled darkness. Its face was a blank, placid mask of divine beauty, but the flesh beneath it was a churning sea of anatomy. Eyes blinking on its cheeks, mouths whispering on its forehead. It spoke. The sound was the chime of 1,000 crystal bells played in reverse, a sound that vibrated inside their skulls, threatening to rupture their minds. And the words were perfectly, horribly clear. "You have come to my city," the entity chimed. "You have come to be remade." Thorne, the man who had searched for this place his whole life, just fell to his knees and wept. Marcus raised his pistol and fired, but the bullets turned to dust. Gabriel simply tilted its head, and then the city came for them. The bone floor grew soft and fleshy, sucking at their boots. The ribs of the chamber snapped shut. Gabriel reached out a hand that was too long, with too many joints. Thorne was taken first, his body unmade, dissolving into a slurry of screaming memory and biological matter that the floor eagerly drank. Marcus was dragged screaming into a wall, the living bone flowing over him like wax, molding his body into a bas-relief of eternal terror. His face the last thing to be swallowed. Soon, only Elena was left. She stood before Gabriel, her body half transformed, skin cracked and feathered, her mind on the brink of oblivion. The entity extended its hand. It offered a choice, not with words, but with a wave of pure psychic understanding branded directly onto her soul. "Join me. Become part of this beauty, or be forgotten." The last few seconds of recovered footage show Elena's cracked porcelain face. A single black tear traces a path through the white quills on her cheek. She looks at the outstretched hand, and then she slowly reaches out. The footage cuts to static. The inheritance. No one ever found the Helios team. Satellite sweeps found no storms, no impossible radar signatures, and no city. The official report lists the team as lost in a tragic mountaineering accident. But what really happened when Elena Vasquez took Gabriel's hand? There is one last fragment, a single audio file buried deep in the corrupted data. It's Elena's voice, but it's changed. It's calm, resonant, and layered with the sound of chiming bells and muted screams. And all it says is, "He did not offer a choice. He offered a promotion. I am the new artist, and I am so very hungry." The story of the Helios team is a warning that some myths are better left buried, and that not all angels bring salvation. So, I have to ask, what do you think truly happened to Elena? And if you found yourself in that city of bone, with that impossible choice, what would you do? Let me know your theories in the comments. And if you have a taste for strange, dark, and mysterious stories like this one, make sure you subscribe for more journeys into the unknown.